Hello everybody. We got a new game with the white pieces. We're rated 1085. Our opponent Philly Full Philly is rated 1113. We start with 1c4. He goes c6, going for the caro-kann style. We go g3, and again, as predicted, he goes d5, challenging the light squares and hitting our pawn directly. I'm going to take this central pawn with my c pawn. He's going to take back. And now I'm going to develop my bishop targeting this pawn. So everything's pretty even, pretty standard. He brings a knight out towards the center to its most natural square. It makes sense. So now I just need to develop. I'm going to bring this knight out to its most natural square, and it hits the pawn in the center with two pieces, and it's only defended once by the queen. He brings out his bishop. What does this threaten? Well, it doesn't threaten anything. It might threaten a future coordination with the knight, but that takes more time. It is my turn. I could take the pawn in the center with the knight, let's say. That also stops him from going here for his idea, because I could just take the knight. Also, you might even have moves like this, hitting the pawn a third time, as well as the b7 pawn. So you have options. If we go here, I mean, what does he have there, really? I don't know. I'm going to develop another piece. If he goes to protect this pawn, I can't take it anymore. So that's the downside of my move. And if I take this one, yeah, so he does defend it. Maybe I should have just plucked it off the board since it's a central pawn. But developing the queen can't be too bad, right? Because I still am going to take this pawn. He can't hit my queen because the knight's hanging. So I take this pawn. I'm not really sure what he does, but I'm going to grab it because I don't see any drawbacks. Also, his knight is pretty loose here. It's undefended. Okay, so black moves his queen up, which defends the knight and offers a queen trade. The drawback of this move is that it undefends the rook. So I could take the rook with check, and that's game over. He blocks with the knight, so as not to give the queen trade down material. The drawback is your knight is on d8, so clearly that's never a threat, to me. So I'm going to continue developing. I'm going to bring my other knight out to its most natural square, eyeing the center with the jump on the queen. So I'm just going to develop. I'm up a rook. The game is over. He moves his bishop. What does this threaten? Nothing, because the knight's protected. And what's the drawback? Well, he moves the same piece twice. He's not developing or getting closer to castling, which is priority for him right now. Also, he gives me, I'm up a rook, so letting me take your bishop and trade again can't be beneficial for you. So I'm going to take it. He recaptures back, which doubles his pawns. Opens a line for the queen, but I don't see that being, problematic, let's say. I'm going to jump my knight into the center. It comes with tempo. He may try to do something like queen in, trying to apply a lot of pressure to the position. Or here, attacking the knight. But I was going to take this pawn, let's say, if he went here, defending everything. But now he just offers the straight up queen trade. And because I'm up 6 points of material, I'm just going to take his queen. Now there's no chance for counterplay. Look at his whole army. You could say, well, look at my army, but I'm up 6 points of material. So that's the difference. I'm just going to continue developing by getting my bishop out while breaking down whatever center he has. I'm going to take back because ruining my pawn structure at this point doesn't matter. I'd rather keep a knight in his territory than keep a perfect structure, because I'm going to win no matter what. So I'm gonna castle just to get my rook here, since his king is still in the center for some reason. Also, there's some bishop stuff, some bishop stuff. Maybe we can checkmate this guy with some of my arrows. So he moves his knight in. This threatens nothing. Downside is, I mean, yeah, he's moving the same piece again, but he's gonna have to move it anyway. Although still, I would start with the other side so you can prepare castling faster. Also, this undefends this square, so now I have new ideas. So I'm just going to develop my bishop to a square where he can take it, because trades are good for me, but he may think, oh, I'm ruining his pawn structure, but it doesn't matter because I'm up 6 points of material, so all these trades are good for me. The pawns are irrelevant. He develops a bishop. What's the threat? There is none. Time to put a rook on the file. He develops his knight and blocks the king from the rook, so that's fine. I'm just going to bring in my other rook on another open file. Instead of castling, he moves the knight that was protecting his king from discoveries. That makes no sense. Castling was, I mean, is what you wanted to do. And the drawback is it reopens the x-ray. And because he didn't castle, I could bring in my other rook. And because this knight controls this square, if I bring in my rook with check, actually, he has to go here. Can we set up a checkmate? Knight g4, discovered check. So I have a rook. Okay, so let me take away these arrows, right? So if I go here, he has to go here. And then I do a discovery check here to block this escape square, right? But then his king can go here, which defeats the purpose. I mean, I could just take the rook, so it's a free rook. So I don't want to waste too much time. There's no reason. I mean, there's an easy mate, whatever, but otherwise there's a rook, so there you go. I was calculating for nothing. Jesus Christ. So we get another game, but now with the black pieces against Sail Pale, 1971, rated 1072. He opens up with d4. We go knight f6, developing a piece. He opens in a very passive, modest fashion, blocking his own bishop and opening up the diagonal for this one. I'm going to immediately attack his center with c5. It does hang the pawn, but this pawn you can always get back later. Or just speed up your development and ignore the pawn for now. I'm going to go e6, which develops my piece with a threat to win back my pawn. White goes a4. What does this threaten? Nothing. It gives a little space to the rook. The drawback is it's not developing a piece. He's not getting closer to castling. I guess we're going to have to climb another 100, 200 points before they start doing that. So we're just going to take our pawn back. Now material's even, but black has 2 minor pieces developed. White has 1, and it's our turn. So it'll be a 3-1, 1.5. So he develops his knight, but not to its most natural square. The drawback, it's not as effective of a square. It doesn't hit as many central squares. It blocks the bishop, blocks the queen a little bit. Now it's our turn. We're just gonna keep things simple and castle. Now our king is safe. He's very far away from castling. He moves his knight. What's the threat? He threatens our bishop. What's the drawback? He's moving the same piece twice, and he's no closer to castling. So this can't be good for him. Okay. Our bishop is hit. We can move it. We can defend it with a piece. We could even give this check, but I'm not entirely sure what it does. Because this is staring into this, I'm not too thrilled. You're obviously not going to put it here. This, you still have to move it again. So I'm going to bring it back here and say, well, this knight's on the wrong square. This bishop's still strong and can one day go to f6 diagonal. So he brings out also this bishop. It's a pretty open center, so my bishops are better than his knight, so I don't want to trade it. So he moves his bishop out, threatens nothing. It was its only available square. Drawback, no closer to castling. Passive square. Yada yada yada. It's always the same. I'm going to put my d-pawn in the center, take some territory since he has nothing in the center, and then get ready to develop my other minor pieces. He brings a knight out to its most natural square. This finally starts preparing castling for him. So we have various moves we could do. We could go and develop our knight, which is probably the most natural move. We could jump our other knight in. Yes, it moves a piece a second time before we're developed, but it comes with an attack on the bishop, and the bishop can't go anywhere. You can't really escape the trade, and I would like to have that bishop if possible. You know, my dark square is my good bishop, so if I can get rid of his, that might be useful for me, because then I'll have control of the dark squares. So to avoid that trade, he goes back home, but drawback is he's setting the pieces back up, and the bishop doesn't look at anything. So that's not a good move. So now I'm just going to continue developing. Let's bring a knight out. Let's not waste too much time on this one. And now we have two nice knights. He moves this knight. This threatens to remove my strong knight. What's the drawback? He's moving the same piece a third time or fourth time or something. That's crazy. He's blocking his stuff again. He's making no progress with his position. He's just going back and forth. This is just terrible stuff. So to punish, so to speak, punish him, I'm just going to go f5. I don't even care. If he takes, that's really bad for him because I'll take with the f pawn. He'll have to move his knight, which defends his king, and it will open up my rook. So it's like an idea from the stone wall, and this should let me attack him on the king side, assuming he castles there. He goes out of the way, but again, he has to, if he wants his knight to improve, he has to waste 2 more tempi, and even then I can disallow it if I want. So now it's our move. The f2 square is looking very tender and very weak. Not really defended. This bishop needs to get in the game, so I'm thinking about e5 as well, which opens up the scope. You can try to attack the pawn directly. If he goes g3, hitting the bishop, I wonder, can you bring in your queen? Queen f6. He can't take your bishop because of checkmate, and if he pushes like f6 or f5, in all those cases you can take, but then that frees up his piece. So I don't know about that, but with the knight in here, maybe that's a little extra support. Maybe that works a little better. If I push here now, it takes away that square from the knight, even though it opens up the bishop. So maybe I want to think about move orders. Also, if I sack the rook and he takes the rook and I give this check, and let's say he hides and I bring my queen in, he can just bring his queen maybe here, and I don't really have anything. So do we improve the knight or improve the bishop? It's an interesting question. What's white's next move? Maybe I just need to get stuff to the king side. That's definitely what I need to do. I just kind of wanted this to work. Well, there's no way he can take because I'll checkmate him. So I should have some tempi there, but although my bishop's hanging. Huh, 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 huh. Okay. I really just want my queen on f6. That's the thing. So maybe I could put my bishop here. Although what is... it's a little suspicious. Could go here. I'm just trying to find the most efficient way to develop my piece. Like, alright, forget it. I don't see a forcing move that works, so I'm just going to do an improving move. I improve my knight because it gets a lot closer to his king and it looks really cool in between these pawns. He develops his bishop. You know, it eyes some light squares. It can't really go anywhere else. He's preparing castling, although that's suicidal kind of. Now, we do want to get rid of this knight and put the bishop in. We really would just want our queen in the attack. That's like ASAP. So if we go here, again, he kicks us. We go queen f6. He throws in f5 at us. En passant, he could take with the knight. We could take with the knight. He could take with the bishop. And then if we take with the rook, he takes with the queen. We're still down one less piece. So let's just bring more people in. I don't know. I'm going to relocate this bishop here. A, if he castles, that's really good for me. And B, I really just want to get the dark squares with my queen. And his bishop was in the way. I was trying to move it like to one of these to get it out of the way, but it's still in the way and targetable. So I'm going to put it where it belongs, which is on d6. I mean, you can always leave this structure and you have a long-term, you could put your bishop here, you have a long-term plan of this way, let's say, or just leaving it here. You don't have to push e5. My knight looks really nice here, and it's nice to have this diagonal, so you don't really want to push, and it weakens d5. But he can't really castle king side, but it takes forever to try to castle queen side. So he goes h3, maybe trying to, I don't know what, control some stuff. The drawback is this move doesn't help his position. His king is still stuck in the center, and I had zero plans to get to that square because it's not supported by my pieces. So I'm trying to play on the dark squares, so giving extra control to the light square doesn't really make sense. So now I'm going to do what I wanted and get my queen in the game. Let's go to another drawback of this is it weakens the dark squares, and I'm trying to play on the dark squares. So for example, now if he moves his f pawn, I can always go to h4 and he never can block because the diagonal's weak. Whereas if he had the pawn back here, he would always have g6 interposing, intercepting. So he castles, which is crazy. But I guess he thinks it defends my threat. It does defend that threat, but it's still extremely suspicious. I wonder if check works. If he takes with the pawn. If he takes with the pawn, and I go here, he can push the pawn. If I go here and he takes with the pawn, and I go check, and he goes over, and then I go here and he pushes and check, then over, then rook sack, pawn takes, this takes, knight f6, pawn takes, queen takes. That looks good. I'm gonna go for it since I have no time on the clock. And this guy's got 8 minutes. He took with the knight, so what a chicken. That ruins everything. But whatever, I have 30 seconds, so now I'm going to lose this game. Come on, guy. It's no fun if you're not going to accept the piece that's offered to you. That's so lame. Let's see if I can trick him. Of course, I could trick him. I really wanted to play out my tactics. What a lame duck. He ruined all my fun. But it was easy to trick the guy. I went B6 because I wanted just to bring his brain to this side of the board so that when I did this, it looked like maybe I'm doing something here. And then I really went this way. So it's a misdirect. We got another game. Climb some rating. We keep going.